So this video is the second half of my analysis of Jenn Soto's interview with police the day after Maddie was reported missing. Once again, a huge shout out to Grizzly True Crime for putting in the FOIA request and getting all these recordings, images, documents, and making them available for the rest of us to be able to have a look at. So if you want to have a look at the uninterrupted version of this interview, then it is on Grizzly's channel. There's also a second interview now on Grizzly's channel. I may be doing a breakdown of that, depending on how I'm going with time. But this is the second half of the interview, so if you want to have a look at the first half, I covered that yesterday and I'll add the link for that below. So let's jump in.
I had an appointment. I had a doctor's appointment at like 10:15, but they took a while. And then by the time they did my blood work and whatever, I think I got home somewhere between 11 and 11:15.
Okay. When you got back, was Stefan here?
I'm pretty sure he was, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was. This should be a no-brainer. She's talking about events that occurred the day before she did this interview. And not only that, but it's a significant day because it's the day that her daughter went missing. So you'd think that she would have some idea as to whether or not he actually was there when she got home at 11:15, whenever it was she thinks she got home. And I know that she at one point talks about being a bit muddled in the head because of her drugs, but I don't believe that is the case here. I think this is a major red flag, and I think this is part of the narrative that has been at least tweaked a little bit, if not invented.
What was he doing?
Just sitting in my room. At my computer desk on his phone.
So after not being 100% certain that he was there when she got home, now she's turning around and saying, yeah, he was in my bedroom at my computer desk on his phone. I suspect this could have been when he was doing a factory reset on his phone, perhaps. I think that is probably something that did occur because she's very specific there.
Okay. What did you guys do?
We chatted for a little bit. I asked him what had happened because he had called me earlier at 10. Let me see. Pretty sure he called me around 10:18.
Okay, so for starters, let's look at how long it took her to come up with that answer. He called me at 10:18. Now the first thing that I see here that is concerning is that she has previously said, with regards to when she got home, that she got home between 11 and 11:15. She talks about when she woke up or was woken up by him getting the dog, it was between 8 and 8:15. And now when it comes to Stefan, she has to check, presumably the silence was her pulling up her phone and looking for a call on her phone to give them a time to say that he rang her at exactly 10:18. Why is it so important to establish an exact time that he rang her? To me, that rings alarm bells, especially because she said that she had an appointment at 10:30. So to me, it sounds far more natural to say that he rang me just before my appointment at 10:30, or he rang me probably about 10 minutes before my appointment at 10:30. That's not something that should be difficult to figure out. So either this woman is completely off the fairies, or she's really working hard to create some kind of narrative. And I do find it a little bit disturbing that she's so specific with a time when it comes to Stephen Stearns, not so much when it's about her and it doesn't matter. Now, the other thing with what she said here that really concerns me is the way that she says, we chatted a bit and I asked him what had happened because he called me. So from that first inference there is that she didn't actually answer the call at 10:18 when he called her for some reason. But at the same time, why is she saying I asked him what had happened as opposed to I asked him why he rang me? Or to me, it's not the way she said it, perhaps, don't know, but something about it just didn't quite sound right with me. I asked him what had happened. He is staying at her place. He's her ex-boyfriend. Are you telling me he never ever rings her? And if she gets a missed call from him, is she always jumping to conclusions that something has happened? Because that's odd. That is really odd. To me, the more natural response would be, I asked him why he rang, or we discussed the missed phone call, or something like that. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting here, so let me know your thoughts.
What did he call you for?
To let me know, that...
Okay, I'm going to call bullshit before she even starts talking about this phone call. Because to her, this phone call is significant enough for her to pinpoint the exact time that he rang. It is significant enough for her to say she asked him what happened. And now, when she's asked what the phone call was about, suddenly she can't remember? That doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with what she has previously said. She's umming, she's pausing. To me, she's trying to grasp a narrative, trying to figure out what the official story is that she's meant to be saying.
He didn't go to McDonald's as planned. He had asked her multiple times if she wanted to stop at McDonald's because that was the plan the night before. That they were going to wake up early. He was going to take her to McDonald's, do like a special McDonald's breakfast, and then drop her off at school early because she wanted to get there a little early.
I'm going to butt in there so that you can listen to the rest of it after I make this observation. The way she's talking has suddenly changed. What's happening here is that she is suddenly reciting, in that this story is something that she has, to me it sounds like complete utter bullshit. It sounds like it is fabricated, because it sounds like she is simply reciting a story that she's supposed to remember. It's like that game that you play at school. I went to the shop and I bought an orange, and then the next person has to add to that. I went to the shop and I bought an orange and apple, and it goes on and on and on. And it's a memory game, and you're trying to remember the order of things. And to me, it seems like that's what she's doing here. There's a story that she's supposed to be telling, and she's gone into narration mode. She is simply reciting something, to me, in my opinion, that didn't happen. And I should qualify that. We know that didn't happen. We know that none of that stuff of him going to take her to McDonald's and her not wanting to go to McDonald's didn't happen, because Maddie was already deceased before then. But what I believe is that this conversation never occurred either, and that this is perhaps something that was cooked up between Jenn and Stearns after everything happened, as part of his alibi, part of the reason for him leaving so very early that morning, and part of the reason for explaining why Maddie wasn't seen being dropped off at school, because they needed some plausible excuse to be able to say, oh, she was dropped off super early. Well, why was she dropped off super early? Oh, well, because they were going to go to McDonald's for breakfast, but then she decided she didn't want it. What 13-year-old kid is going to turn around and turn down breakfast at McDonald's? The whole storyline is bullshit, and like I said, we know that it's bullshit anyway. But surely Jenn isn't so dumb to have believed something like that. So to me that says that this was a story that they concocted between them. I could be wrong, but it really does not sound like she is saying anything here that is truthful.
But on his way to school, she was very sleepy and wanted to sleep in the car. And she said she did not want to do McDonald's. She just wanted to be dropped off.
Okay.
Also to let me know that he left his phone at home, because I had called him multiple times and he hadn't picked up. He had left his phone at home by accident.
Now, she had to throw in on the end there, by accident. So, to me, that's not normal speech either. She said a few times, he left his phone at home. He left his phone at home. And then, by accident. Well, the inference would be, when you say someone left their phone at home, that it was accidental. Unless there was a specific reason for them leaving it at home. But when you consider the circumstances that she's describing, there is no reason other than it for it to be an accident. So her adding on that it was by accident, to me, is a little concerning. The other thing that I question here is her saying, because I tried to ring him multiple times. Because here she's saying she tried to ring him multiple times, and yet him trying to ring her, and she's like, what happened? Why did you ring me? Well, if any of that happened, then why would she be questioning why he rang her? Because wouldn't you presume that he rang her to return her calls? But the other thing with that is, when did she have the time to make multiple calls to him? Because she claims that she got up at 9 o'clock and she left half an hour later to go to a doctor's appointment. Now, I don't know if she perhaps tried to ring him while she was in the car driving, but why would it be that important that you would need to do so? And of course, she says that when she got home from her doctor's appointment, that he was home. So how many times did she try to ring him? Was she trying to ring him while she was driving? And what was so very important that she needed to try and ring him while she was driving on her way to a doctor's appointment? Particularly if she was expecting him to be home anyway when she got back.
He had went to the vape shop, but they didn't open on time. So he had waited for quite a while in front of the vape shop. They didn't open, so he left and came back, and we hung out a little bit. And then I think he left again to the vape shop to go buy what he needed.
Okay.
Do you want the name of the vape shop?
Now, she's being really, really particular about creating an alibi for Stearns. Even down to, do you want the name of the vape shop? Now, if your kid was missing, would you automatically jump to the conclusion that your partner was responsible for your child being missing? What she's doing here, this real determined effort to create an alibi, doesn't fit with her earlier narrative of Stearns dropping Maddie off at school. Because if she believed that he dropped Maddie off, why is she now so intent on creating a solid alibi for him? She's now trying to basically account for every minute of his day. Even down to, do you want the name of the vape shop? Because then, you can check security cameras. I mean, that's obviously what she is trying to imply. Or perhaps she's expecting them to go in and interview the staff at the vape shop and say, was he there? Convenient to say, oh, well, he went there before, but it wasn't open yet. Because unless there were cameras in the car park, there can be no confirmation of that. But for him to then turn around and go there after is like trying to confirm that story. I truly believe that she was involved in covering up for this monster.
Yes. If you have it at the top of your mind, I'm sure we're going to talk again soon, and we'll have more.
No, I'm just saying because that might be helpful if you want to see like surveillance or anything.
Okay, so at some point, I understand he gets like a flat tire, and he's not able to go with you to pick school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you get to the school, how do you realize that she wasn't there?
So I usually leave around 2:30 to pick her up. She gets out of school at 4. So I wait it takes me about 20-25 minutes to get to the school, and then I wait about an hour for her to get out.
Now, that's something that I don't understand. So I'd be interested to hear from people who are in America to explain this to me. Is it normal to head off to pick up your child and wait an hour just to get to the front of the pickup line? Because that's the only reason I can think of for her wanting to get there so early. Is that normal? Or was there a reason that she wanted to be at the front of the pickup line? Perhaps she wanted to be seen in the pickup line by multiple parents, by school staff, to give the impression that she expected her daughter to come out of school, to give the impression that she believed that her daughter was at school. Because I've noticed that the detective didn't query why she was there so early. So I would like to hear an American perspective on this.
I waited the whole time, and then when the bell rang and then it was time for her to come out, she wasn't one of the first kids like she normally is. And I realized I was holding up the line because everyone behind me had children, and they needed to get out because I was the first in line. So after about, I'm going to say, I think it was like 4:10, she didn't come out and I was holding up the line, so I drove away. I said, maybe I forgot to tell her that I was picking her up that day, because I don't know if she knew that I wasn't working that day.
So just to clarify that, she's saying that she got there an hour early. She sat in her car and waited for an entire hour till school got out. And then after school got out, she only waited 10 minutes to see if her daughter was coming out. And then she says that she was holding up the pickup line. So presumably it wasn't something where cars could pull out and drive around and head out, which I find a little bit alarming. Well, not alarming, but it's a silly system if that is truly what it is. Surely something like that would be better set up with a way for vehicles to pull out and drive off. So I find that kind of stupid. But either way, so she's saying that she waited only 10 minutes after school got out. She was happy to sit and wait for an hour before that. But then she only waited 10 minutes and then she left because she was holding up the pickup line. Now, I'm sorry, but wouldn't you instead get out of the pickup line, move your car somewhere so it's out of the pickup line, or at least park it, part way along the route to her mother's house, along the route that she knew that Maddie would walk? So even if she didn't stay in the pickup line, 10 minutes, kids can sometimes be really slow getting out. Even the kids that are the first ones getting out of the classroom, sometimes there can still be delays. After only 10 minutes, that she's not coming and just completely leave. Again, this is a red flag.
But I had assumed that she thought, she knew that I was going to go get her. So because she never came out, I left and I went. She works less than, I'm going to say it's like a 3-minute drive from the school. It's very close. She works in the Hunters Creek Villages area. I drove that way, and I drove along the path that she would walk, and I didn't see her. And then office, I asked, hey, has she gotten here yet? They said no. And I said, okay, let me wait a little bit. And I parked back again on Hunter's Park Lane, I think. And I waited along that lane to see if I would see her walking. And I didn't see her walking. And it was about 4:30, 4:35. At this point, she should have. So I went back to the office. And then I was like, is she here yet? No, she hasn't gotten here. And I said, okay, hold on. Let me see. I called her best friend. And I was like, hey, are you... I don't know if I told her I was picking her up from school today or to walk to the office, but I don't see her anywhere. And she goes, no, she never came to school today. She didn't come to first or second period. And I said, what do you mean? We dropped her off close to school.
And again, a hole in the narrative. So she said to this detective earlier in the interview that Stearns dropped Maddie off at school. And now she's relating a phone call that she made with Maddie's friend, and she says that she said to Maddie's friend, we dropped her off at school. And the way she is relating this phone call sounds far more natural in terms of speech than the recitation that she was doing earlier on. So I suspect that she probably did ring Maddie's friend and ask Maddie's friend if Maddie had been at school or something. In which case, what she's doing here is in fact recounting a phone call that she made, which to me says that she did actually say to this girl, we dropped Maddie off. That is very, very problematic for me. It makes me think that she truly is covering for Stearns right from the beginning. She was covering for him. I think she knew what had happened.
She should have walked to school. She goes, no, she never made it to any of her periods. And I said, can you please check with your other friends in your other classes to see if she ever made it? She got back to me and said no. At this point, I started to panic because I realized something was wrong.
Now remember, this interview is only the day after Maddie went missing. And yet here she is relating to the detective that it was at this point that I started to panic. But you don't hear any of that in her voice. There is no indication at all through any of this interview about her being concerned over her daughter's whereabouts. You could almost forget that this whole interview is talking about a missing child. And something too that is absent here is actual physical experiences. Saying I started to panic isn't really describing any physical sensation. You should have said, I felt sick to the stomach, or something like that. Something physical that she experienced, rather than just, I started to panic. How do you know you started to panic? What was happening that made you realise you were panicking? Were you having trouble breathing? Were you sick to the stomach? You would expect her to be relating things like this. But instead, it's just a very matter of fact, I started to panic. With no hint in the way she's talking that there was ever any panic here.
I emailed one of her teachers, a few of her teachers actually, and one of them responded to me. He said she didn't make it to his period at all, and he checked all her other classes, and she didn't make it to school at all. That's when I knew something was truly wrong, and I'm not before that email or after that email, but I started panicking and freaking out because she should have been to school. She should have made it.
And then I understand she forgot her phone, right?
Yeah.
Is it common for her to not have her phone?
Yes. She's got ADHD. She's super forgetful. She never realizes that she's in the shower for a whole hour. She loses track of time. She's very...
Okay, to me it is very disturbing, her saying that she spends an hour at a time in the shower. There are trauma reasons, without going into too much, as to why a 12-year-old girl, because basically she was 12 at the time when she was having these showers, because she had only just turned 13 that week. So there are reasons why a 12-year-old girl would spend an hour in the shower. Sure, anyone with ADHD will tell you how easy it is to hop in the shower, finish doing all your business in the shower, and then you do drift off and your mind wanders and you do start to just enjoy the hot water running over you. And you do lose track of time a little bit, but not for an hour. Not for a full hour. To me, that is very, very problematic. And that is a cause for major concern. Why did this child feel that she needed to be in the shower for an hour? Was it an escape? Or was it a need to feel really, really clean? Were there other reasons? I don't want to delve too much into that because it is something that is not pleasant to think about. But definitely it is concerning to me. But going back to the phone. Now, we have one account from her best friend who says that they spoke on the phone every morning. Now, another thing with ADHD is you cling to routine. And if she was so accustomed to speaking to her friend every morning on the phone, and she's left early to go to school, wouldn't she want to have her phone with her so she can speak to her friend while she's, like, before school, if she's left that early? But not only that, what 12-year-old girl is really going to forget their phone? They might forget their library book. They might even forget their lunch. They're not going to forget their phone.
And then you guys went looking for her, right?
Yes.
Where did you look? Like, did you drive somewhere? Did you walk? Like, where did you go look for her?
Okay. So, after her best friend called me, actually, or I talked to her best friend on the phone.
Now, she was very matter of fact with the way she said, after her best friend called me, actually, and then she pauses and she's like, oh, after I spoke to her on the phone. So, the way she said it to me sounds like that she's slipped up there. There was a bit of leakage. Maddie's friend called her. It could be that she claimed earlier that she had asked Maddie's friend to check with other friends if they'd seen Maddie, and that maybe Maddie's friend was calling her back. But at the same time, she didn't say, after Maddie's friend called me back. She said, after Maddie's friend called me. So I'd be interested to have a look at the part of the documents where it discusses the phone call from Maddie's friend to see what actually happened according to Maddie's friend.
I went back to the school to see, let me check her official attendance. Let me see what's going on. They were already closed. Nobody was at the school. So I searched by backtracking into the school and then coming back out and seeing that there were no kids at the school at all. So then I drove to the office. Everything was driving. And then I think that response from her teacher at that point. But
now that part really confuses me too, because here in Australia you're going to find that probably at least up to an hour after the kids have left that there's going to be staff on site in a school. And she hasn't given a time frame as to when it was that she went back to the school to check Maggie's attendance officially. But she makes it sound like it was still, within maybe half an hour of Maddie getting out of school, which would mean that you would expect that there would have been staff there. So I question if she even did bother going back to the school. Especially because she says, in the meantime, this teacher emailed me back. Now, the reason I have a problem with that is, now, maybe the teacher lived next door to the school, and maybe they were so dedicated to their job that they did check their emails directly after getting home from school. But that doesn't sound likely to me. I would imagine that this teacher that emailed her back would have had to have still been on site to have sat down and replied to that email. Because otherwise, they would have been in transit, wouldn't they? They would have been on their way home. They would have been driving. They're not going to be checking email while they're driving. And as a teacher, you're not going to get home and the first thing you do is check emails. Nobody does that. So to me, her saying, in the meantime, after I'd gone to the school and discovered no one was there, while I was discovering that no one was there, a teacher emailed me. It doesn't ring true at all. Now, I had hoped that this would have been a 2-part video, but I realise we're already up over half an hour, and there's probably still about 10 minutes worth of audio to go through. So I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you'll come back tomorrow for part 3 and listen to part 3. And then I'd really love to hear your thoughts on all these as well. Anyway, thank you for listening. Please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel. And also, leave your thoughts below. What are your thoughts here about Jenn Soto? Do you believe the things that she's saying here?